You know, I want to try something out here.
Yeah.
This is one of the realities of what we do. This is unscripted. It's produced very well. We just don't always follow the lead of the producers. And I was pushing for Mike Tomlin to be coach of the Steelers in 2007. Remember, they had it was going to be Russ Grimm, and then it wasn't.
Right.
I was banging the drum for Tomlin. I found out years later that there was actually some conversation in Minnesota about telling Brad Childress after 1 year, thanks for everything, now leave. We're going to make you a 1 year defensive coordinator, the head coach, in order to keep him from becoming the coach of the Steelers. That conversation actually happened within the walls of the Vikings organization. So I've been a big Mike Tomlin fan, but one thing I've noticed over the past couple of years, because usually after like a gut punch of a Steelers loss, I just remember a time vaguely where his press conference would be must-see TV because he's going to be pissed.
Right.
And now I'm thinking, was it ever that way? Because, man, he seems unbothered more often than not. He seems unbothered. He doesn't seem upset. And maybe it's a matter of age and experience.
Yeah. And the team.
You can't win them all.
Right.
It can't all be winners, kid. At some point, you just accept the fact that, hey, we're not going to make it to the Super Bowl, and the world's going to keep spinning, and the paychecks are going to keep coming, and we're going to keep trying. But what can you do? You can't drive yourself crazy. You can't make yourself miserable. You can't give yourself ulcers. You can't put yourself in an early grave because you're so obsessed with it that you're gutted every year that you don't make it to the Super Bowl, that you don't make it past the first round of the playoffs. And again, this is a team that has not won a playoff game since the 2016 season. And I don't want to call it complacency. I don't want to call it surrender, but there just seems to be an acceptance of the way things are. And there doesn't seem to be an effort by Tomlin to put a figurative foot up someone's ass.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I do remember a day in which, right after games and they would lose, he was, for lack of a better way to say it, a little more chippy, right? And a little more he might have some cool sayings still, but he said it in a way where you were like, man, he's saying it and he ain't happy and he's pissed off. Sorry, Liverpool, right? I mean, that's the way it kind of came off. And yeah, I think maybe some of that is like what you talked about. It's age, it's experience, it's all of that, and what you're accustomed or just what you've gotten used to as being a head coach for a long, long time and handling those situations. I think the other part of it too is it's the team itself and how you communicate. And I think in some of those years, those teams were young and super talented, and he thought, hey, we can win a Super Bowl with this team. How could we lose that game? Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, those kind of guys, our defense, all of that. So I feel like there was, maybe a higher expectation. And also, the team wasn't as veteran as it is right now. And I think when you have a veteran football team at times I think coaches tend to be, I don't want to offend these guys. They've been in the NFL for a long time. I got too much respect for them. I'm not going to be quite as harsh at the podium about our play and stuff. Does some of that creep in? Yeah, those are some of the things that I think about a little bit when you make me evaluate that type of situation. Maybe it's a little of all of that right now, Mike. And Mike Tomlin, as you know and we know, we saw him before the game. His energy is unmatched. He's one of my all-time favorites. You know that. I mean, gosh, he's one of the great communicators we've ever seen or been around. But, something in Pittsburgh right now ain't resonating with that football team. And I don't know if it's really his words, like I said. I think it's more they took some gambles on some older football players, and they tried to go down that path to give us one last hurrah, and it just ain't working right now. And I don't know if it matters what the hell you say to them.
And the comment that collapses the logic, what we said earlier, when he was reminded he's got a lot of mature veteran players.
Right.
Why aren't they doing what you want them to do? And he says, sure, our kids should do what we tell them to do, but they often don't. That's where it falls apart, because it's not a young team. An older team, they know what to do.
Right.
The problem is, and this may be identifying the core of the issue, they gambled on players who don't have it like they used to.
Right.
Except for Aaron Rodgers. That's the great irony of all this.
Right. Yeah.
The biggest gamble they made is the one that's paid off. All the little gambles may not be paying off. The big one is. And then you got to wonder what he thinks about all this. What's he got to think about all this? He's bitten his tongue. This is an example why it's good that he doesn't do McAfee's show every Tuesday this year. Because at some point, Chris, he would have said something. He would have gotten comfortable. He would have made a comment. We would have read between the lines, or maybe not even needed to read between the lines. Maybe it would have been obvious about how the defense isn't doing. You know, I've been on some teams with good defenses in the past, but man, this year it's an adjustment. You know, so just something as simple as that.
Yeah, right.
But it just shows you how quickly things can turn in the NFL. You're 4-1. You're in position to run away with the division, and then you get punched in the gut by the Bengals, and then you get an uppercut to the chin from the Packers. And look, I don't want to dismiss the fact that one of the reasons they didn't play well on Sunday night, wearing the ugliest friggin' uniforms I've ever seen. There's no way there wasn't conversation in the locker room when they put those things on. They're like, what is this? Sorry. I mean, like, when they're looking around, like, at each other, like, is this real? Is this like a Halloween costume? Like, what is this? And I'm sorry, whoever, and I know no one designed it now. It was designed 90 years ago. Sometimes things from 90 years ago need to stay 90 years ago, right?
Yeah.
We don't dress like we did in the roaring 20s. There was a stock market crash and we forgot all that stuff. Like, let 90 years stay 90 years ago. So anyway, I mean, we've documented that when players look good, they play good. So the opposite's true. Those were hideous uniforms.
They're hideous. You heard me on Monday.
That hasn't been said nearly enough.
You don't mess with that uniform.
I think we would have had 35 million watch the game the other night on NBC if people hadn't turned it on and say, "Get this shit off my TV," and turned it off.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It stinks. It does, because like we talked about Monday, you want to see Aaron Rodgers versus the old Packers, the real Packers uniforms, while he's in the real Steeler uniforms right now.
Yes,
that's what we tuned in to see, and it was almost like vice versa there. But I think to what you're talking about with Rodgers, I think, remember on the Thursday night against the Bengals, you said Rodgers was edgy, right? He seemed like he just
pissed off the whole night.
I think he knew. I mean, he knew. He knows. He knows he's played enough football. He's going, wait, we're not that good. We got to be on our stuff. Like, we're not as good as we're 4-1. This is a dangerous game against the Bengals. He knows right after that you got the Green Bay Packers, and he knew right after that he went, oh no, if we slip up against these two teams, we got to play the Indianapolis Colts and what they're doing. So he can't be right. I mean, the thing I can imagine that would make Aaron Rodgers angry is some of the emotional stuff that goes on during the game. Some of the, there's penalties, and of course that's going to bother him. But DK Metcalf getting a 15-yard personal foul when it's supposed to be right in a big moment where it's going to be second and short instead of become second and 17, right? They can't overcome that. They're not good enough. There was another personal foul by somebody on the defense, I think another drive or two later. Those are the things they can't afford to do. They don't have enough playmakers. They're not enough. They're explosive enough. The defense isn't delivering turnovers like we are expecting them to do and see. So they got to play a clean football game. And within a clean football game, you can't poke somebody in the eye and lose your emotions when really the best way for you to win games on a week in, week out is like 20-17, 23-20. And when you play that way, you can't do stupid crap. And they've done some of that, whether it's be turnovers and penalties and whatever else. They're not good enough to overcome that with the state of their football team like we've talked about, and especially that defense where, other than TJ Watt, like I've said, I don't think there's one marquee player on that side of the football right now.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.